Let's go. Right. So, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to another episode. And this one is going to be a guest episode featuring Mariam and Khadijah. Over to both of you. Tell me about yourselves.
Of course, so I don't mind jumping in first. So my name is Mariam. I'm currently in my era where I just graduated from university. I studied Spanish and comparative literature at university, and alhamdulillah, I got to do a study abroad here where I got to go to Spain. So I can definitely say that we are fluent in Spanish and we can use it when we need to. So currently for me after graduating, I've just been trying to find what career would suit me most. But at the moment, I'm just kind of doing teaching assistant. So I'm a primary school TA, where I support in primary school specifically towards SEN students. That typically isn't always an easy route to undergo because obviously, if you've worked with special needs children, you will know that there are moments where there are some difficulties and it definitely really does test your patience and stamina. But alhamdulillah, I feel like it's just a really rewarding career to be doing. And I think for me, I've just been satisfied with just doing that career because I think for me, I've always been passionate about working with kids and like just having that bond with them. So essentially, I've just been continuing that career until I just kind of see what my next steps are. But alhamdulillah, we've just been doing that for the moment. I'm also part of an amazing group called NISA. We're essentially a social media channel where we post content on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, where essentially we just showcase our friendship. So it's me, obviously. Khadijah is our special founder, which I'm sure she'll be able to touch more about Niza. So it's just me, Khadijah, and then another member as well. And yeah, so I've just been doing that as well as doing being a TA. So essentially, I've just been able to have the best of both worlds, where I'll be working part time as a TA and also spending time with Niza as well, alhamdulillah. So definitely excited to get into this episode because I feel like I've always been at a stage where I always reflect on my younger self. And I feel like my younger self would definitely be proud of how far I've come. So definitely can't wait to get into reflecting on this more with the both of you. So again, thank you so much, Cesarin, for having us here. And that's a bit about me.
Oh, that's so beautiful to hear,
Thank
Mariam.
you.
I really love hearing your enthusiasm, and you can speak Spanish. That is so
Yeah.
cool. Oh, wow. Khadijah, tell me more about yourself.
Yeah, so my name's Khadija. I've actually just graduated from my undergrad business management, and I was kind of thinking, what do I want to do with my life? And the calling of a primary school teacher was just calling out to me, and that's what I've decided to do as a career. So I'm literally just been undertaking my PGCE at the moment, which has been very fun. And alongside my PGCE, I've been doing NISA stuff with Mariam and our other member Ishrat. Just like Mariam said, NISA is essentially just this group that we have where we post content on social media. And yeah, that's basically been what I've been up to. It's been very fun, kind of finding out what I really want to do with my life in terms of teaching, and then also having all my creative hobbies kind of being fulfilled through NISA. So it's been really, really, really nice. And the topic of today's one is actually something I'm very, very interested in. Just reflecting and looking like into the past. I always find that to be very, very interesting. So I'm actually very excited for today's episode and just kind of dive deeper into it.
Oh, wow. That is amazing to hear. And I really relate to when you're talking about your creative hobbies and keeping that all in one, having that fulfilled. That is such an important thing, I think, especially as young women. Creativity is a beautiful way of expressing yourself, your dreams, your ideas, and just making sure you have that outlet is really, really important. Before I go on a tangent on the importance of creativity, I want to really ask you, what advice would you give to your younger selves and why?
I don't mind going first. So I think I always regularly think about this, but I think the first thing I'd want to tell my younger self is don't stress so much over the little things. Because I think sometimes, even now, you have that tendency to overthink and overanalyze every single little moment. And you tend to overanalyze that little moment until then it becomes such a big thing in your mind that you can't get past. So I think definitely, I think I would want to give that as my first advice to my younger self, as I feel like I always used to be like quite insecure. I'd always overthink the little things. But I think I definitely would want to tell myself that I shouldn't stress over those so much because at the end of the day, you may be so fixated on that thing. but there'll be other people who all have their own lives, who all have their own issues they're dealing with. So they're really not paying attention to you as much as you think they're paying attention to you. So I think I definitely would want to tell myself not to stress over the little things, not to let myself get so fixated on that I miss seeing the bigger picture. So I think that'll definitely be my first advice. And then my second thing would be about friendships. I feel like for me, I'm somebody who cares a lot about my friendships and a lot about my connections. So if there was ever a moment where we'd be in a disagreement, or if maybe it might be the case where my friends would be in a disagreement and I would just be in the middle, just like unsure how to navigate that. I think I would definitely just again tell myself not to stress over friendship dramas, not to stress over if maybe I might not be getting along with a friend as much as I would have been. Because again, I think another thing you end up learning over time is that there is so much more people left for you to meet, and there is so much people who is going to meet you and love you outside of the school bubble. Because I think one thing I definitely learned was, when you're in the school environment, you're just in that school bubble. So essentially, you're just so fixated on those connections. But then when you leave that school bubble, you just realize there is so much more connections to meet and to make that's just waiting for you. So I think if I was definitely to go back to the past, I'll definitely just tell my younger self, don't worry about those dramas. Like, just keep on being in your lane, doing your own thing, and then the right things will come to you at the right time. So I think I'll definitely just tell myself, don't stress about the people, because whether you get along with them or not, you'll know over time whether those people are meant to be with you for life or whether they're just meant to be with you for a season. And besides, there's just so much more people down the line. So I think I definitely would want to give that kind of advice to my younger self, really.
That is so relatable because, like, lately I've been reflecting a lot on friendship as well and how some people enter your life and then they go. And, like, I have a habit where I get stressed over it and I wonder how can I keep them and how can I keep them, like, forever and stay best friends forever. But sometimes some things are not meant to be and it's okay to let go. So I really relate to your piece of advice. Thank you for sharing that, Mariam. What about you,
Awesome.
Khadija?
So yeah, so my first piece of advice is just quite similar. If I could go back in time, I would love to tell myself to just, it's okay not to be friends with everyone. It's okay to kind of be alone, and be comfortable with like being alone, and like it's you're not going to be like friends with everyone. Because when I was younger, I think one of my main issues that I would have would be friendship problems, or I'd have loads of arguments with my friends, or sometimes it was very clear that a friendship was not really, not wouldn't say made for me, but it would be very clear that we were not good friends to each other because of personalities and different reasons. However, due to the fear of like, oh, I don't want to be alone, or just due to the fact that you have history with people, so you kind of want to keep that going, I would kind of stick it out and stay within these like toxic friendships, toxic relationships, or I would always kind of try to fit into them, or try to like change who I was just so I could like be friends with certain people. And as I've grown up, I've kind of realized that, you know what, you don't need to do that. That no matter how many years of friendship that you might have with someone, it's okay to kind of let it go, and you don't need to stay friends with people, especially if it's inherently turning out to be something that's like bad for you. Another piece of advice that I would kind of like give myself would be like, that kindness and niceness is not something bad, because I always feel like growing up as well, like that those are my two main things that I always told myself. I always need to be nice and I always need to be like kind to everyone. However, just with the surroundings that I was kind of in, I always kind of felt like being kind and being nice was something that wasn't a positive, just because sometimes it's something that might get taken advantage of, or sometimes you might be in a situation and you choose to take the nice or the kind route rather than kind of going down the revenge route. And at the time it might feel a bit like, oh, I really wish that I said something or I did something. And now as I kind of getting older, I've realized that, you know what, that in itself it's like, it's being kind and nice is not a negative thing, no matter how it feels in situations. It's actually a really nice thing that I've and yeah, those two are the kind of things that I've kind of learnt growing up, that I wish I could just go back and like tell myself that it's okay for both those things.
Wow, that is so profound. And just your reflection on friendship and kindness, it makes me think, because my piece of advice would probably be something else. It's okay to be mean to people. And that's entirely opposite to
Also,
what you're saying. Is there a particular age in mind that you think of, and that particular age that you used to be, that you would give that specific advice to?
I would say, for both of these, it would be very good for like secondary school slash college times.
Oh
I
yeah.
know that's quite a vast age thing, but I feel like these were quite prominent during that during that time frame. So from like 11 to like 17-ish.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would agree
Yeah.
as well. Like definitely secondary school times. Yeah, definitely secondary school times. I think for me, I'll definitely apply that to sixth form as well. So maybe like around 16 or so. So definitely like that kind of age range.
Yeah, I feel what you mean. Because, like, I feel like when I was 16, because everyone had GCSEs and everyone was stressed. And because I went to an all-girls school and everyone was also
So
like
did
competing
I.
with each other. Oh, we can bond over the girls' school life. We can bond over
Literally.
that. Like, everyone's competing with each other who wants to get better
Hmm.
grades, get into this university, this college. And I think that's when friendships really were being tested. At least that's what I feel at the time.
No, 100%. I agree with that. I feel like because it was it could be sometimes be a very weird environment. Everyone's competing with each other, trying to get into the best schools. So it is a bit.
Yeah, I feel like I always used to say that I always wanted to go to an all girls school or like a boarding school because you know when you read those books and then it really
Yeah.
romanticizes the boarding school experience. So literally, I was like, why can't I go to a boarding school? I want to be doing the midnight feast and then bunking
Me
classes and all of that.
me
Every time I
too.
hear my experiences, people are just like, don't say you want to go to an all girls school. It's literally trauma and
You
everything.
know what? I actually enjoyed my time. Like I do feel like there was competition, but it was a very nice environment sometimes because it was like everybody was in the same boat and everybody was like so supportive of each other at times. They could really feel the girl power.
Oh yeah, no, I get what you mean. Because like going from an all-girls school into the corporate world where you're working in offices with men, it's like that girl power, they laugh at you, but you
Yeah.
know firsthand that girl power is something truly powerful and transforming. If they see it, they'd want a bit of it too. But
100%,
they're not
100%.
gonna get it. This leads me nicely into wanting to ask both of you to just tell a story. It can be the same story, it can be two different stories. Just tell me a story, any story, something that you think the audience would really need to hear.
I don't mind again going first. I feel like we've kind of gotten into an order of how we speak. So,
Yeah.
so I think I just wanted to touch more on my like past experience. I think whenever I tell a lot of people that in the past I used to be quite shy to the point where I really was just within myself, I'd be like, you know, when you kind of say something and then you go and then at night you're deeping like everything you've done and then you're thinking, why did I say that? Why did I do that? I really used to be that kind of person in the past, which a lot of people are surprised by because now it's like I come across as quite confident, I'm quite bubbly and stuff. But I think in the past, I used to just be really quite insecure. And I think this was just from secondary school, where, you know, secondary school, when you're at that kind of young teenager stage, you're just at that environment where it's like if you're that kind of different person, if you're doing something different or you're not like the typical crowd, people will just tend to just like turn to you and be like, yeah, okay, we're going to make fun of you and everything. You're the different one to everyone else and stuff. So I think I used to kind of get that kind of treatment a bit. So essentially, it was just quite hard, like growing up in that secondary school environment. I feel like it just essentially was me versus like trying to make sure that I didn't do anything that would seem weird or anything like that, just for the sake of not like getting commented on or getting picked on, that kind of thing. So I think essentially during secondary school, I did just start off my time like that, where I just kind of struggled to find my own people and everything. Alhamdulillah, it did end up getting better. I think later on down the line, I did end up meeting my friends. I met my people, and essentially, I think I pretty much was able to get through secondary school just because of them, just because of the fact that I had them to kind of lean on for if I had any issues or just in general. So I always kind of lent on them quite a bit, but essentially, I was still quite shy to the point where it would only be my friends who would see my full personality, but for everyone else, wouldn't really get to see that side. So I think I always like reflecting on this because I think I like seeing that growth arc I had because I feel like at the start I was just quite shy. I was just quite within myself. I was just quite insecure to the point where, as you said before, Khadija, I would always just hate being alone. It got to the
Mm.
point where even if I was sitting by myself on a table in a classroom, I would just hate that because you would just be thinking, oh, maybe everyone else is thinking, why doesn't she have any people or anything like that? So essentially, I did just start off like that. I feel like it definitely did get better later on because I think I ended up just deciding to challenge myself when it came to deciding what college, sixth form I wanted to go to. I think I ended up challenging myself by just being like, you know what, we're not going to just stick to the same school where all my friends are. We're actually going to go to this whole other school and just see how we do that. I think I just wanted to get used to kind of just not relying on my friends and not relying on the fact that I'm in an environment where everyone all knows each other and everything. I think I just wanted that fresh start for myself. And when that opportunity came, that's when obviously I was there like, absolutely, we're going to go for that fresh start and see how that treats us. And I think it was definitely just fun just seeing how I kind of navigated that space. I think I was still a bit within myself. I was still a bit within my shell. And I did end up seeing somebody from my secondary school who I did know. So essentially we did stick together for a bit. But I think it was definitely a good experience for me, alhamdulillah. As again, I was able to meet my people. Again, it was definitely just an experience where I was able to be in a whole new school environment. I definitely preferred that school a lot more, as I feel like everyone was all a lot more like friendly and open. It wasn't the typical cliquey environment where everyone all just had their small groups and you just stuck within it. Although everyone did have their own friendship groups, essentially everyone all just mixed and mingled. And it's definitely like an experience you need to have where it's just like, it's not every day you just stick within the same crowd, within the same people, doing the same thing. You just want to have that moment where you just decide to change everything and just see how you end up adapting to that. And I think that definitely really helped with my character growth. Again, when I got to university, I think, I don't know what happened. I think that was just a switch that happened where when I got to university, I just ended up being the complete opposite to the shy girl I was growing up. I just ended up being that person. I would speak to every person I would see because I think I always had in mind that university would be that experience where you would become a whole new person. You'll have a whole character transformation and everything. And I think I just really wanted that for myself. So I just essentially just tried to insert myself thinking about the kind of person I wanted to be. So essentially, I just became a lot more confident over time. I was going to freshers events, I was going to networking events. I was just able to like make a lot of new connections where over time I was just able to gradually be that person where people would just say I knew everyone because essentially I was always just like networking, trying to speak to other people and everything. So I think I just ended up just becoming that kind of confident girl where I always wanted to see myself become that person. I remember even like in secondary school times, I would always just be making dua and praying that inshallah I'll grow in confidence. Inshallah I'll be more like confident within myself and I wouldn't be that person where you'll just be worrying over what people think of you all the time. I think I definitely just kind of got to grow to be a bit more out of my shell. So I think I always just like reflecting on that character growth because I feel like it's just such an essential part of me just to think that in the past I used to be that person where I would just be so scared to say a single thing just in case someone would pick on you and they might be like, oh, why are you saying this kind of thing? That's so silly, that kind of view. And just kind of just be able to be a bit more confident in myself, just to be able to just say what I want to say and just be my full self and not have to just shrink that for anybody. So I think that's definitely just what I wanted to touch on because I think essentially it's just such a big part to me because you wouldn't want to just know me as just a confident person. I would want people to know that I did also have a past where I essentially just wasn't that confident in myself. I would just be like quite shy. I would be quite insecure. But I just would want to say that. So if in case there's anyone out there who might relate to that moment where they're just not in an environment where they're too scared to be their full selves, I just want to say I've been through that stage. And if I can come out of it, and there's definitely so much people I know who's also come out of that stage as well, then definitely you'll find your time where you just realize you want to kind of change that and you might decide you want to either give yourself a fresh start or just do something entirely new because that essentially it will just be such a strong and vital part of your character development. So I just really just wanted to touch on that really for my story.
Oh, wow, that is amazing because like today I meet you first time. You're very confident, you're very articulate, very bubbly. And now when you're telling me about how you used to be insecure, you were afraid of your voice, you were afraid of your interests and owning them out loud. That's such an amazing journey to go on. No doubt a difficult one too. And I'm
Yeah.
sure many people in the audience can relate to that kind of struggle in secondary school where you don't want to be seen as the lonely person who doesn't have any friends. Like I definitely remember that you brought back that memory, like full
Yeah.
picture color. And that's all I could think of. And yeah, no, I really like your story, Mariam. It's very visceral, very touching. What about you, Khadija? What would your story be?
I think my story would be, so this was in like secondary school. At that time
Secondary
I had
school's been very
sorry?
I was just going to say secondary school's been a very testing time for all of us. We'll just
Oh
put that.
yeah, it has
No, definitely. I feel like that's where all the interesting stories are. Like secondary schools where you're kind of growing into your own person and stuff. So it's where it's quite interesting.
Yeah,
But yeah,
no.
so my story, so it's in secondary school. So during secondary school, I had, quite a few friends, and I would say that I had lots of positive friendships, but I definitely had a lot of negative, more toxic friendships as well. Particularly with this one of my friends who I'm not friends with anymore. But while she was my friend, she would always kind of say a lot of like negative comments. Um, and being an Asian girl, obviously I had a lot of like hair, and also had like a unibrow, and all those kind of things. So that one friend of mine, she would always kind of like nitpick with that, always make comments. But also at the same time, I feel like she was one of my biggest friends. Like if I had any issues or anything like that, she was always like kind of like by my side. But then at the same time, whilst we were together, she would always kind of like make comments, and always make me feel a bit negative, a bit very um weird with my about myself. And I did lose a lot of confidence to do with that. In my head, I was like, oh my gosh, I must be really I must look really ugly and stuff. Like that was something that I would tell myself all the time. Um because of things from this friendship and a few others. But essentially, during this time as well, with a lot of my group of friends, we were on and off arguing. There was so much drama, and I'm sure we can relate to that. Like, I feel like when you're in secondary school or even when you're in your teen life, whether you want it or not, you're kind of faced with a lot of drama.
Oh yeah.
And
Oh
so
yeah.
yeah, and so during that time, it was a lot of drama, on and off drama. And I remember I would be so unhappy during that time. Like I would feel so negative about myself. I would kind of go to school and be in such a negative environment where it was like one day would be fighting, another day would be not fighting. And I don't think that was anyone's fault. Essentially, it was just like personalities kind of clashing at times. Um, but what ended up happening, however, is that I was already friends with this one girl. Her name is Maya. I was already friends with her at that point, but I can't remember exactly what had happened. I think we were bonding over a hobby that we both had. And from that hobby, we kind of just like started becoming like closer and like closer and closer. And Maya, she's like the opposite of drama. She was like the most drama-free person that I knew. Like the second like you'd bring up anything drama related, she would be so like, yeah, I'm not gonna get involved in that. And she was very much the fun friend where you just have so much fun together, and she was like very nice like that. So essentially when I was kind of talking to her, and we were kind of getting closer and closer and closer, I noticed a massive shift in everything about me. So it was not just Maya, there was like a few other people in the friendship group as well. But I'm mentioning Maya because that was kind of where that shift essentially happened. Like once we became really good friends, it was kind of like a turning point. Suddenly going into school every day, it wasn't a moment where I was like fighting or like arguing or there was like drama. It suddenly became like a fun thing. It was like, oh yes, we're going into school, I'm gonna have so much fun, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. And when there was drama, because at the time as well I was quite like used to the drama, I would kind of get myself like involved. But she was so um away from the drama that she kind of influenced me to kind of like take a step back from the drama. And it was such a nice thing just to see the way everything transformed for me. She was very supportive as well, and for the first time I think in a long time, I was in a friendship where it was like very very positive, where I was able to like kind of go home over the WhatsApp would be fun, going into school would be fun. And she was very supportive of all my things. For example, I really really love writing. That's one of my biggest passions, and she would kind of always support me with that, send me like competitions like, Khadijah, you should submit your writing into this competition, or Khadijah, you should do this, you should do that. Like and I just the impact that had on me, like that one positive friendship that then took me away from like the negative friendships. And um just watching, I feel like I said this 2 times, like watching my whole the kind of thing transform. I was suddenly a lot more happier, had a lot more self-confidence. And I just thought that is such an interesting story to tell, because I think sometimes in the situation you don't kind of realize that, oh, the negative impacts that's happening to you. Because I didn't realize until I kind of like, made friends with it, and I felt a lot more happy and positive about how negative that I actually felt. Um or how much self-confidence that I had kind of like lost in myself. Like I had, obviously you do know it, but you kind of don't realize it until you kind of read the situation, then you're reflecting and you're kind of looking back. So meeting her and kind of like seeing that, I was like, wow, like life could be this really happy, positive thing. It doesn't have to be so negative and dark all the time. Like there is like a way of living that's more happy, if that makes sense. So yeah, I thought that would be like a really nice story that I would kind of share, because sometimes you don't realize it within your own friendships as well, that, oh, maybe I'm not feeling so happy, or maybe this is impacting me a lot more than I realized. um so it's just a good way to kind of like, so nowadays what I do is I kind of reflect a lot on my friendships that I have, and I kind of see like, okay, is this friendship good for me? Because you never realize how much it's actually impacting you. So yeah, that's the kind of story that I wanted to share today.
That is so beautiful, Khadija. And honestly, I totally relate because especially as a South Asian girl as well, I feel like the standards of beauty placed on you, and when you don't meet
Yes,
that, and it hurts more when your friend who you trust says
mm,
something mean to you and criticizes
definitely.
you on your insecurities. It really it bleeds differently. I wow. But the fact that you met Maya and Maya was encouraging you with your creative writing and with your stories, like Maya seems like someone who's watering your dreams with you.
100%, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I want to end on a final question. What what is one dream that your younger self has that you want to nurture?
Again, I think we're used to the order of speaking.
Go for it, Miriam.
I think for me, with my younger self, I feel like ever since I did this one work experience where I got to, like, how you dress up in the typical power suit, you're in central London, you're working in like some
Control.
busy office. I got to have that work experience, and it was for a week. And I think I loved that experience so much. I think since then, I've just always had that dream where, like, one day I'll just have, even though you describe it as a typical 9 to 5, for me, it would just be exciting because you're essentially in the landscape of central London. I think I've always just been such a lover of central London. Even in
Same.
my first year of university, half my time would essentially just be in central London, whether it's trying out a new food place or exploring a new area. I've just always loved that area so much. And I knew that when it came to working, I essentially would want to be staying in central London and have that busy office atmosphere. So I think I definitely would just see myself having that power suit experience and just be that girl just killing it in her career, whichever route I decide to go for. I think I've always said I wanted a corporate kind of dream. So I think I definitely would have that in mind. And I also would love to be more of a traveler. I think ever since my experience in Spain, I think I definitely just knew since then I wanted to be that girl who was just always doing something, who was always busy. I wanted to always just make sure I was out of my comfort zone and essentially just exploring our world, because I think after Spain, you just realize there's so many places out there to explore. And especially, when you go on TikTok and you see all these amazing places that's out there, I think essentially that just adds to the fact that you just want to be just out there, really just living life big and bold, because at the end of the day it's like you only have this life once. So I think for me, I would want to have be sure I'm making myself try new experiences, and that's something I've always been passionate by. I think ever since I started uni, I've always just found myself be doing new experiences, whether it's essentially doing a cute activity with friends or going to a whole other place or doing day trips. I think I always just love like just experiencing new things, because essentially that's what makes you you, and you're essentially just finding out your interests. So I think would want to be sure that I'm always just experiencing something new, and I'm having that office girly dream whilst also
Yes.
just being in the amazing central London environment, and also just taking the time to travel and just explore the world. So I think that would definitely be my dream for my younger self. And inshallah, there'll be a day where we're just all just living out our dreams and we're all just living the best lives.
Oh,
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Well, it is the month of Ramadan. Let's cash
Yeah,
in on the du'as, just bank in on
absolutely.
the du'as. Make
Yeah.
them, plenty of them. What about you, Khadija? What's your dream for your younger self?
I think for me, it's always been very. I've always had so many dreams as a child. Like I've always wanted to do. I think at least every job at least once. Um, But I think for me, it's my writing. That's something that I think that's always stayed very consistent throughout my whole life, and I really within writing, I love writing stories particularly. So for me, I think that's one thing that no matter what I do, um, being a primary school teacher, inshallah, nice everything. I just want my writing to be something that I definitely do because I feel like when it comes to like writing, sometimes it's something that kind of it doesn't get left behind, but it's doesn't take priority over everything else because everything else has like deadlines. So that's one thing that I definitely want to focus on and be like, inshallah, at least one publish at least one of my many stories that I've written. Um, I think that's one of the main dreams for me that I really want to nurture.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah,
Yeah.
may Allah help you both to achieve
Mm.
your dreams, Ameen, and to
Um,
put barakah in your goals as well, Ameen. You both sound like such
Um,
passionate people, and you know what you want, you know what makes you happy, you know what drives you, so that even though you've had times where you felt insecure, unconfident, you're still showing up for yourself and for your dreams, and that is so beautiful. This brings us to the end of the episode. I am so glad that I got to speak to both of you, learn about your dreams, learn about what advice you'd give to your younger self. And yeah, I hope to have you both again soon on another episode. Maybe we can talk about advice to your future self, maybe. Who
oh,
knows?
that'd be interesting.
Yeah, because like you both have such beautiful reflections, and yeah, I really enjoyed talking to you both. So I'm gonna, unless you both want to add anything else, I'm gonna probably stop the recording. Is there anything you'd like to add?
I just want to thank you again for asking us to come on. I feel like that was such a lovely experience, honestly, talking about this, and I feel like it was so nice kind of hearing both of your own experiences. So I really enjoyed that personally. So thank you.
Oh, thank
100%. Yeah, I think we just pretty much wanted to give you your accolades as well. I think we've listened to your podcast as well, and we just
Mhm.
kind of got to know you through your podcast. So we were just really excited about this collab as we knew definitely you would be a great person to have this kind of conversation with. So
100%.
alhamdulillah, we got to experience that. You've been such an amazing host. So inshallah to many more collabs, and inshallah may Allah
Inshallah.
subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in all of our goals.
Oh,
Amen.
I mean, that's such a beautiful dua, and you both are so sweet. Allahumma barik. This is so, so sweet and wholesome. I guess to the audience listening, spread kindness the way Khadija and Mariam have. Just bank in on the kindness, spread it, let it grow, let it spread like jam on toast. Not such an odd simile, but hey, I guess that's what we're ending on. Um, yeah, no, this has been amazing. I'm going to stop the recording now.